I don't think he'll take to it. He'll be dead in a year. 18 months, tops. But Holt was not so sure. Bitter experience had taught him that anyone who found themselves on the opposite side of Joe Mullen would do well to not sell him short. He might not be able to make a run for it, but his mind is sharper than ever. You best not forget that in your travels. Wheeler stopped outside the jail and took his time in looking over Holt. He did not seem impressed by what he saw. That's strange, coming from you. I've heard you're no one's idea of a Sunday social either. You've heard right, Holt told him. The two lawmen walked into the warmth of the jail, where Holt signed papers granting the federal government custody of Joe Mullen. Holt had made a practice of never telling another lawman what he should do, but he could not let Wheeler ride off without speaking his mind. The man down at the livery tells me that your cook wagon is still being repaired. Wheeler frowned as he folded the papers and tucked them into his vest pocket. Threw a wheel right before we came into town this morning. The terrain in this part of the territory is hard on horse and haulers alike. The prison wagon is as solid as they come, but that cook wagon is almost as rickety and fickle as the old man I've got driving it. Me and Bob got it back on well enough to bring us here, but it was slower going than I would have liked. That was the part that bothered Holt. But you're still planning on bringing these men to the territorial prison alone? The government doesn't pay me to wait around, Wheeler said. They pay me to bring my prisoners in on time and alive. I don't plan on waiting around just because my cook wagon is busted. I have a schedule to keep. Holt decided it was time to break his rule about advice to lawmen. I'd strongly advise you to wait for him, Wheeler. The livery says they'll have that wheel fixed in a day or so. Why take chances riding alone over rough terrain with a bunch like this? You're more than welcome to keep your prisoners here in my jail until your cook wagon is ready to go. Wheeler tucked a cheroot in the corner of his mouth and struck a match alive off Holt's desk to light it. That's awfully neighborly of you, John, but I have to decline. Waiting here is the sensible thing to do. It's expected, which is why I won't do it. He waved the flame dead and tossed the match out the door and into the thoroughfare. If it was just me, I'd be inclined to do what you say. But it just so happens that I've got a wagon filled with wanton cutthroats, thieves, and nasty individuals of every low human description. Some of them have ridden with some bad people who might be looking to break them out if I stay in one place too long. Got a fellow named Hart in there who has some particularly unsavory friends. The sooner I get them locked up behind bars, the sooner I'll be able to rest. He tossed his thumb toward the doorway. Don't let those blue skies fool you, Holt. You're new to this territory. You haven't seen how fast the weather can turn ugly out here. We could have a foot of snow tomorrow and ice after that, making the trail impassable. It's already plenty rough as it is. If I delay, I could wind up being forced to stay here all winter. Holt did not see the problem. That'd be fine by me. We can always use the extra help, and we'd see to it your prisoners were healthy. I couldn't care less about their well-being. But I do care about my schedule. If I need to winter someplace, I'd rather it be on my own bed at the prison instead of on a cot here in Devil's Gulch. Wheeler tried a smile as he rubbed his right hip. You're too young to appreciate this, but I'm not as young as I once was. The years and the miles seem to have piled up on me in the past few months. Guess it's made me lonesome for my comforts. The sooner I get there, the happier I'll be. Holt was not trying to be difficult, but he decided to put a finer edge on his words. I might be new to the territory, but I know a thing or two about weather. The snow is still a week or so away. The trip to the prison takes 3 days. You'd fare better on the road with 2 of you watching the men instead of just you. But Wheeler was clearly not having any of it. I've been transporting prisoners from one end of this territory to the other since I was your age. I know how to handle 6 criminals in a cage. 5.5, given Mullen's condition. Holt decided trying to convince Wheeler to delay his trip was useless. He had told the man his concerns, and that would have to be enough. He could not force the issue. Since you won't listen to reason, how about a word of advice? The marshal.